Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I thought I'd make an idiot of myself trying to deal with this Vanda and try and get that in there. I'll apologise. The last time I was out in the kitchen mucking about with this, I was concentrating on what I was doing to such an extent that an awful lot of what I filmed I didn't actually film because it was out of camera shot, so I'll apologise for that. I don't do that often, but I was concentrating. I'll try not to do it this time. A little development, shall we say. I've sacrificed a root so that I could cut into this rhizome. Something I haven't done for, sorry, I'm desperately trying to find the flipping camera again. Now, there is some rot up through the centre of this stem. There's some discoloration there. Now, you know what that could be? That could be what's left of something that was there before. Now, I don't know this for definite, but if a plant has had the dreaded F stuff and it's treated and you stop the spread, all well and good. But what's left behind? I don't actually know the answer to that. So if at one point this plant was infected and the treatment may or may not have worked, it's difficult to tell without keep climbing up the stem and cutting more and more bits off, trying to find a bit of purple. All I'm going to do is assume that that could be residue staining from something that was before. But nonetheless, I think I may retreat this plant. Now, if that has got the infection and it's spread up into the base of the plant, the chances are it's not going to recover very well, if at all. But that's for the future, not for now. For now, I need to get it so that I can hang the flipping thing back up. So I can't get all the plant in shot at once, but basically the goal is to thread as many of these roots through these big holes in the basket without breaking the ends off. And we'll see how we do. Now, this basket has got some pre-drilled holes in it, and they're not all in the right flipping place, quite honestly. What I want is 2 wires going up the front of the basket and 2 wires going up the back of the basket that I can then join over the top of the plant and make a hanger. So that's the plan. Obviously this big fat root's going to be out the top of the basket, which is good. Long-term plans, this may become 2 plants. If these nubbins here do actually grow into a reasonable root system here at the base of the plant, then I don't want all this bit down the bottom, but it might be nice to try and grow the kiki on. So that part of the plant would stay in that basket. So that's the idea anyway, is to try and, this is going to might take more than 1 cup of coffee actually. And as I say, I'll apologise in advance if this goes out of shot, but I need to look at what I'm doing and not at the camera, because what I'm doing is more important at the moment. So that's going to be the front of the plant. This root needs to go out through, I don't know if it would go through the bottom, because that would be the best place for it. Let's see if I can thread that bit through the bottom without busting any major new growths off. Fiddly though it is, the roots are actually quite flexible at the moment because this ended up in the bucket all night. Whether that did it any good or not is difficult to say, but that's where it went. Since that one through, obviously I can't go too mad until I've got all the flipping roots in place. This is not going to be easy, is it? Nothing's ever easy. See if I can get some more through the bottom. The more I can get through the bottom, the better, because then effectively it will confine the roots into a narrow column, which is going to make it fit in the bucket easier. You know, it's all thinking about what comes later rather than what comes now. I have to get both of those roots through the same hole because they're a branch off of the same root. If I put them through different holes, when I get to the branching point, it'll be stuck. So that's 2, sort of. That one just keeps popping out again. That's 2. So far so good. That one can actually wait. It's these two. These are the long dangly bits. So far I haven't heard any of that magic snapping sound that we all dread when we're playing with roots, when you hear that little click and you think, oh, that's that one gone. That's life. I'd love to know what that flipping helicopter's up to out there. He's been coming backwards and forwards for a while now, and it's a military one, it's not a civilian one. So what are you up to, mister? Me? What are you up to? So I'll poke that one out the side. Now, how low down are we getting with the plant? I want the plant quite low in the basket if I can. I think that's about as far as I'm going to get. So I can pull a little bit more. That one will poke through there. Something's catching here and I can't... Ah, that was it. That was the one. Right, that's got the base of the plant right down in the bottom of the basket. That's obviously as low as it can go. So that'll do. So that's got some dangly roots through. Now all I've got to do is fix some wires on so that I can make a hanger. Oh, that didn't work out too bad. I didn't hear any roots break. You know, and I mean, long term, if the new roots are going to grow out near the base of the leaves, these roots sort of become redundant until such time as I cut the plant in two, if I go down that road. That's not a decision yet, that's just working out about how much I need, about that much. Now what I'm doing here is I've measured one length of wire. To save measuring it over and over again, I'm just folding the wire until I get 4 pieces and then I'll trim it and they'll all be the same length then. Little trick, but saves a bit of time. It saves wasting wire as well, because I'll only cut off what I need, which is that. Right, let's get that out of the way, cut the bends, and then I should have 4 pieces all the same length. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is the bit where the wires start thrashing around and whacking all the blooms to pieces. Still, so be it. It's got to be done one way or the other. So I'm just straightening the twist out. So I need 2 at the front. I want them quite a long way away from the plant if I can, so if I just put one round there. This is not an exact science because these are only here to hang the basket and give me something to hang on to while I'm playing with the plant. So that's one. Trouble when you do that to get all your wires the same length, you end up with little hooks on the end and they catch on absolutely everything. That's why I'm straightening them out. So that's one. Now if these are relatively evenly spaced, then obviously the basket will stay more upright. It's not important, but as I've got the opportunity I just will do it. Alright, that's 2. Now let's turn the whole thing over, bash my blooms about even more, and do 2 around the other side. Try and get them opposite each other, then I should have a balanced hanger rather than a lopsided one. Where'd the other one go? Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I'm sure I did 4. And that one needs to go about there. So that's 4 pieces of wire. Now this bit is going to be off shot, I just know it is, and there's not really a lot I can do because I need to gather the wires together up above the basket. I could do it that way I suppose, if I hang the basket off the side and then my wires come up through together. As I said, this is not an exact science, and I have to allow for growth, yeah? But the growth can take place. So I've just spotted some white. Is that dead stuff? Yes. Yeah, so I think that's about where I want my hook to be. So what I do to make a hook is I leave 3 and wind 1. That's probably off the flipping camera as well. There we go. So I just wind 1 round like that, and then I've got my wires bound with a single one, and then I can just trim the whole lot off, get a nice square end, and then just bend that over, and that's my hook. So that's it. 4 wires. I've got a slight bendy one there, but once I straighten that out, it can come out round the flower spikes. You see, there's room for manoeuvre when you've got thin wires, well, probably with thick wires as well, so that as the wires get towards the top of the plant, I can make that sort of spread them out a bit like that, so that when it hangs up, the wires aren't actually touching the plant to any great extent. I'll adjust all this when I get out in the grow room and it is actually hanging. But that now allows that basket to go in the bucket, and the dangly roots can be accommodated in the bucket, but so can the stem of the plant. That's why I wanted it as low in the basket as I could get it. So there we go then. Really not a happy plant, it really isn't. It's been soaking all night and it's still not hydrated. Got creases all over these lower leaves. And although the top leaves are reasonably strong, you know, they've got marks from scale damage on them. I can't do much about that. The damage is done. I might, looking at the way that's wobbling, in fact I will, I need to wire that stem to the basket. Let me do that. Otherwise it's just going to flop, as you just saw, or maybe you didn't. So all I'll do is I'll put a wire around the top of the basket, round the stem and out the other side of the basket, and then another one round the base, round the stem and out through the other side of the basket, so that it's held in 2 places. That needs more coffee. And that should keep the plant upright in the basket, because there's just not enough roots to do that. The wires I've done so far are to hold the basket, not the plant. So now we'll do some to hold the plant. Right, I need this to be as close to the top as I can get it. So I just go round there. I bet I can't get my finger in and get at that wire. Well, put a bend on it then, make it go out through the hole. There we go. That's that one. And then just put a twist on it. You see, as I said, it's just to hold the plant in place, because it is quite wobbly. Orchids don't like wobbling around. It does something to their makeup. They don't like it. They like to be firm. Even if they're bare rooted, they still like to have some sort of stability. Whoops, I pulled it so hard I pulled it off. I wouldn't have done that with a thick wire, would I? Oh, let's just twist it back on again. And that's that. And then we go round the plant. Now this loop round the plant is not supposed to garrot the plant, it's supposed to hold it. So it's a loose loop. It's the 2 ends of the wire that need to be pulled tight without garrotting the plant. So that only needs to go round once and just form a little circle that the plant can live in, because that stem is not going to expand. It's not going to suddenly double in size. It's going to stay as it is, basically. So we just have a little loop through there, and then we'll come out through the top here. Now these are the 2 bits that need to keep the wires straight. That's all they're there for, is to keep that plant dead centre in the basket. So don't need 4 foot of wire hanging off the end, I just need enough to go round. Once would be enough. So that's that one. Now I need to do exactly the same down the bottom of the plant, and then the two between them will hold it upright. That's my theory, what I have. I hope this is all on the... I'm doing it again, I'm not actually looking at the camera. I think the camera's okay. If not, talk amongst yourselves. Right, get that one round. Actually, I suppose it would make sense to do this one differently and actually come at this one from a different angle. It shouldn't make any difference, it's the loop round the middle that does the job, and the two straight bits to the edges. As long as the edges are opposite each other, that's all that really matters. I wish these holes in this basket were a fraction bigger, or my fingers were a fraction smaller. Either would do. But I can't quite get my finger through the hole to bend the wire, it's not quite. My finger's too fat. Right, unfortunately I need the end of the wire in there, don't I? So, yeah, another kink in the wire that I'd rather not have. There isn't really another way of doing this. But if I thread that under the plant now, that's half my twist done. And then I'm going to end up having to use the pliers here, I think, just to do some pulling, because I've got a twist in there that I'd rather not have, but and then come back out again opposite where I started, which is there. As I said, I may need to use the pliers a bit here. No, I think I've got away with it. Just no room to get my fingers where I want them to be, because the holes in the basket are just a fraction too small. But I can see what I'm doing through the holes in the basket. So that's got that. Is that nice and straight? Yep. Nice and straight, yep. With any luck, when I let go, this plant's going to stay stood up. Because if it falls over again, I'm going to look a right fool, aren't I? As I say, I've never had to do this before. All the Vandas I've bought in the past have already been in their little hanging baskets. So, you know, they've already been in place, basically, where I wanted them to be. Right, so we've got some roots hanging out the side, some roots hanging out the bottom, my big fat root hanging out the top, and yay, it stands up. You love it when a plan comes together. That could have been a miserable failure, quite honestly. There's a little bit of straightening up to do, which I'll try and do out in the grow room. For instance, you know, that flower spike needs to definitely be that side of that upright wire. Hold it out there. That one can stay where it is. The ones around the back are fine. Yeah, that's hanging quite nicely now. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll take this out in the grow room and hang it up, and then take the camera out there and we'll have another look. There we go then, that's it actually hung up. It's quite vertical, it's not absolutely vertical, but it's good enough, and it's quite secure in the basket. And we've got some dangly roots, and as I said, that big fat root, if I'm going to separate this plant at some point, I'm only interested in roots coming out in this area, because I would probably cut it about where that wire is, somewhere around there. So I don't really want those roots attaching to the basket, I want them to stay free, so keeping that one over the top should help that happen. If I separate the plants, obviously the kiki will probably be allowed to grow on, in which case it's already in its basket ready to go, and it will be this bit that I'll have to worry about again. But yeah, it's quite secure, it's got its hook, it's got room to grow, so yeah, that'll do. It already looks a bit better, but it doesn't really improve the plant's health any. I'm actually going to give that a quick spray with the fungicide, just to make sure. When somebody was looking at the Vandas, or I'll have to back up again or it won't focus, somebody said, oh, you've got a kiki. Now, strangely enough, that is one of last year's flower spikes that after I cut it looked like it was going to grow again. And it grew these sort of little green areas, they're like bracts, round the spike. And then it stopped. It's not done anything since, it just sits there looking like that. None of the other spikes did it, just that one. Strange, but what I did notice when I was poking around with this plant, one of these bottom leaves has actually got a spike. Well, I think that's what it is anyway. It would be better if it was a flipping root. But anyway, it's got something going on down there. But yeah, we'll see how it does now. At least it can stand in the bucket properly now, because when it stood in the bucket before, this root didn't go in. So I had to sort of pour water over that, so it never hydrated properly, that root, and these roots aren't much good. So I'm still in a position where I'm not hydrating the plant properly. But you know, we have signs of something growing on that stem. As long as some of those are roots, it should pick the plant up eventually. This is not an overnight thing. Okay, right, see you next time. Thanks for visiting my channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, there are some others you could watch below. You can just click on the thumbnails. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. You can use the link below. I post on most days, so hope to see you again soon. Thanks for stopping by.